Hello and welcome back to Share and Grow, the podcast for positive psychology and a strong mindset. My name is Muriel and I'm happy that you're listening today. Today I'm going to talk to the beautiful Saleha Williams. Saleha is the CEO of Clarity CB1, a design and production company that works all over the world. And she's also studying the international master's program in positive psychology, as I do. That's how we met. Welcome and thank you that you are here today with me.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to interview you. Saleha has a lot of experience in the business world, and I'm happy to talk to you about how to apply positive psychology or to connect positive psychology with the business world. So let's start with the first question. How did you hit on positive psychology first and personal growth? But I think it's very connected.
So I think I have always been a big advocate of personal growth. I think it is extremely important for an individual, whether it is in their life, in relationships, in friendships, in business. Personal growth is something we should always, all of us, be striving to continue. It doesn't stop. It doesn't matter if you are 20 or 50 or 80. Personal growth shouldn't stop. How I became connected specifically to positive psychology was interesting. It was back in 2010. And I had been asked to run the London 2012 Olympics Inspire program. So this was a program set up by the Olympics to use the magic of the Olympic Games to inspire young people and really look at projects and activities they could get involved in, which had the badge of honor of the Olympics Inspire program. So at that time, and I'm a big reader, so I like going into bookstores and reading, buying books. At that time, I came across a book called Flourish. And this is a book by Martin Seligman that was actually published only in 2011. And it talked about how individuals can flourish and what the mindset is behind that, what some of the practical tools there are. And it really gave me lots of ideas for the Inspire program to really help get into the right mindset myself, as well as for the thousands and what became millions of young people. So I used the book, and of course Martin Seligman is the founder of positive psychology. I used the book both in my job immediately and then continued to read about the subject.
That's amazing. That's a good story. Imagine you going into the bookstore, seeing the book flourishing on the shelves.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think this is, we are all connected by energy. And I find going into a bookstore for me is more of a delightful experience than just buying the book on Amazon. Sometimes I do need to buy the book on Amazon or for time or whatever, but to go into a beautiful store, this was in London, to go into a beautiful store, it was Waterstones, just near Piccadilly Circus, and they have floors and floors and floors and floors of beautiful books. You get the energy and the inspiration, and you feel what these people have written, and you are surrounded by people who are trying to do the same. They're looking for books, whether it's in art or business or cooking or whatever. So that was how I first came across it.
Yeah. But it's about discovering the books in the bookstore. I really feel you. So which important decisions have you made during your path through life and positive psychology? And did these decisions differ in comparison to average decisions, if you know what I mean?
So I think I came to some decisions before I knew about positive psychology, but I would say now they were very much based on the positive psychology ethos. So goal setting and deciding what my career would be, what the businesses were that I wanted to go into and work, I was very specific, very early in my life at 16, 17 years old to say, right, I want to become a businesswoman in the media world. And I want to go and work for the BBC. I want to work internationally for people like CNN or Disney. I want to travel and see the world in that business context and meet different people. So I think what is good about positive psychology is that it isn't all new. Some of the theories and some of the ideas and the foundations behind it are based on things like goal setting, self-determination.
Which was there before,
Exactly. Creativity, inspiration, resilience. Resilience, I think, is a huge one. So I think one of the key decisions I made was I was very clear about my goals for my career. And this is now 25 years ago. And so that for me was important. I think another one was actually deciding to do the IMAPP itself. And so that decision has enabled me to then really learn the science behind it. And rather than just enjoy it as a subject, I'm able to then communicate that in a much more beneficial way to other people in business and how positive psychology helps. The third one, I think, is in my relationships. And again, I think what positive psychology has allowed me to really think about in a more formal way is how I want my relationships to be. And using positive psychology, I'm much more aware of what I want to achieve, and I'm more structured about it. But in a good way, So it's something that I think in my career, in my relationships, in my ongoing quest for information and study, it has definitely influenced those decisions, or been a decision that's been very significant.
Do you want to tell quickly, because you just talked about your business goals, what you have done so far, so that the listener knows what you've achieved of all these goals you were setting before?
Okay. I wasn't expecting this question. So I think what is important to say is that I came from a background and a very difficult childhood. I was put into the social care system when I was very young, and I ran away from that as quickly as I could when I was 16. So before I say what I've done, I think it's important to realize I didn't have a very easy start or a very supportive start to my career in education. And that is why it's very important to talk about, for me, goal setting and resilience, to be able to think, no, this is the life that I want. I'm not going to be just satisfied with a mediocre life. I want to go and travel the world. I want to work in media. I want to meet some of the most amazing people. And so, having literally run away from home at 16 to London, I slept only for one night, to be fair, not for weeks and weeks, in Euston train station in London. And it was my break from the situation that I was in. But I did that after I finished my last examination at school, because I knew that I had to study hard to be able to then get into university. So if I didn't study, I wouldn't be able to get to university. If I didn't get to university, I couldn't get the degree. If I didn't get the degree, I wouldn't be able to get the job, etc., etc. So having started like that, I then went on to achieve 4 degrees in English, business, an MBA, and interior design, because I liked it. But I did all of those while I was working. And I started with an internship at the BBC straight away, and I just wouldn't take no for an answer. And this is back in the days where you physically had to go and see them or take a letter. There wasn't email, or, even phoning wasn't necessarily something you could get through easily. So I started with an internship. I waitressed so that I could pay to live and buy food and things like this. And then at the same time, I did my first degree in the evenings at night school. So following that, over the last 25 years, I've gone on to become the group business director for companies like the BBC. I've worked with Sky International. I've worked with British Telecom, all at very senior management levels. I've lived and worked for those companies all over the world. I'm from England, but I've lived and worked for them in Paris, Las Vegas, New York, Los Angeles, Munich,
Barbados.
Amsterdam, Barbados, India, Singapore. So I've had a wonderful career where I've achieved the goal of traveling and meeting people, but also doing what I wanted to be doing in that business with them. 5 years ago, I set up my own business, and I then merged that with another small business in the same field, and have taken that to over 2 million in revenues from nothing, with clients now that are all over the world, a fantastic team of designers and producers, both in London, and we also have a New York office. So I've done both the corporate world and loved it, and set up my own business, which is now in its 6th year, I think, which is going well, and makes me very happy to be doing that too.
Thank you very much for sharing this spontaneous question. It fitted well, so thank you. Would you mind to name me 3 things you are the most grateful for in your life?
I think that the first is my health. And within that, I also include my mental health. Mm-hmm. So I think I am extremely aware of, I have the choice and the ability to learn, to read, to make decisions, to physically have a body that works and enables me to do these things. So both my physical health, my mental health, and even maybe my spiritual health.
Yeah.
This is something we need to look after, but we should be extremely grateful for when we are not hindered in some way. People that have horrible accidents and have brain injuries and can't think or can't talk, or people who, they have their mind but their body doesn't work. So I'm thinking of someone like Stephen Hawking, who is... I live in Cambridge and I see him in Cambridge all the time, and you think there is this brilliant mind, but he has not been able to live the life maybe in the way he would want to, because physically his body is not. He obviously is an amazing example of someone that does everything brilliantly.
Yeah,
you see my point. I have been very blessed that I have a healthy body and a healthy mind. So that is one. The second is that I live in a country, in a society that is a democracy. So again, I have the choice and the freedom to learn. As a woman, I can go and learn the same education levels. I can go for the same jobs. I can do things that are my choice. Whereas there are people in countries around the world that just do not have this choice. They don't live in a country or a society where they have that freedom.
Yeah.
And I think this is extremely important, again, that when you have that, you should make the most of that and not take it for granted.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very happy. And I think the other one is, very honestly, my husband.
Yeah.
Because I think my husband and the relationships that I have, and it's interesting because in Martin Seligman's book, Flourished, going right back to the beginning of positive psychology, specifically 5-6 years ago, he talks about the importance of relationships and connections.
Yeah.
And I am very grateful for not only the romantic relationship I have with my husband, but also just the friendship, the real coming together of people that truly want to look after each other, that care about each other. And I have that with friends and family. And I think that's really, really important. And I am extremely grateful for that.
Which has or was the best compliment you have ever got in your life so far?
So far.
And so far, there will come amazing compliments, I'm sure, but so far, for the moment.
I think I give you the sub one, then I give you the main one. The sub one was being asked by my husband to be his wife.
Aww.
I think this is a huge compliment that is, I love you this much, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. But that's a sub one. I think in going back to the business context, the best compliment I had when I was trying to secure an interview with James Cameron, the Oscar award-winning Hollywood film director of Avatar and Titanic, you know, a god in his industry. Everybody wants to talk to him. Everybody wants to interview him. Nobody can get anywhere near him. A very creative genius, and just somebody you just want to absorb in terms of his talent and his knowledge. And the best compliment in this respect, I would say, came from him, because I was battling to get an interview with him, and I finally convinced his vice president of PR that I was worth talking to. And so his vice president said to me, okay, come to this event. It was a big trade show that was happening in the media industry in Amsterdam. And he said, he's having a cocktail party tonight. There will be about 200 people there. And we will try to get him to speak to you. But we can't guarantee it. And we don't know when it will be. We don't know how long it will be. So just turn up and hope.
And do not take no as an answer.
For me, absolutely. Yeah. Resilience. Never, ever take no. So I was not only there, I was early. I made sure I looked amazing in terms of my body language. My whole presentation of myself was just, I am here to interview or to get an agreement for an interview. I wasn't there to interview him. And at about midnight, and this is near the end, and you know, people have been there a long time. Everyone wants to talk to him. The guy is tired. He's doing what he needs to be doing. But let's face it, this has been the end of a long evening already for him. And his vice president came up to me and said, right, Saleha, you've got 7 minutes. You're on. So I look at this amazing man, and you have to just get over the whole, oh my God, it's James Cameron. And I said to him, look, this is what I'm doing. This is why I want to interview you. This is, the whole idea, etc. And he stood there very thoughtfully. And, you will see pictures of James Cameron. He quite often has his index finger on his lips and his hand on his chin, looking in a very interested way. And this is a genuine thing that he does a lot. It's not just for cameras. So he's standing there, sort of, you can see he's contemplating it. And he just says to me, I like your energy. I will do it.
That's amazing.
So as a compliment, and again, coming back to positive psychology,
and you said we're all connected through energy.
It is so important. And I think for somebody then, as amazing as he is, who gets so many requests for meetings, interviews, pitches, etc., for somebody of his awareness to say, I like your energy, so I will do it, was huge. Because he's obviously a very creative man. And again, in positive psychology, we learn that creativity, it's a mindset. It's the way that your brain works in certain patterns and ways, etc. So it wasn't, I think you have a good magazine to write for, or I think I like your television channel that you're doing it on, or I like your British accent.
It was about your personality.
It was completely about my energy.
Yeah.
So the best compliment I've ever had was from James Cameron, the Oscar award-winning director, who when I asked would do an interview, he said, yes, because I like your energy.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you very much for that. Great story, by the way. Which was the best decision you have made so far? Coming back to the decisions and maybe outstanding decisions that are not very usual if you had to pick one, which was the best one you've ever made in private sector business, what you want?
I think it has been to step out of my comfort zone and keep pushing myself in new areas. So I like to study. I like learning new things, but a decision that takes you out of every day is really important, because this is again how we grow. So I think the decision, for example, even to do the IMAPP, the International Masters in Positive Psychology, this is a scientific, medically based degree, and I come from the business world.
Yeah.
My degrees have been very business, marketing, creative, film school and interior design, etc. Nothing is scientific. And in some ways intellectual in this way. So I think to make the decision to say, no, I'm going to do this, and it's going to be hard. I'm nearly 50 years old. So again, I think the older we get sometimes, the more fearful we become as well. And we think, do we have enough energy? Do we have enough time? We have life and families and businesses, etc.
Luckily, you have the resilience you were talking about before.
I think it is key. But I think the message I would like to say is this is applicable to everybody. It isn't just about business or about study. It is about your life and your life attitude.
Yeah.
So to push yourself outside of your comfort zone and then stick to it when it gets really tough is a fantastic way of, again, growing.
So it's not only one decision, it's more about each decision you have made to step out of your comfort zone during your path through life.
If, for example, you take that back to when I was 16, I'm not saying everyone should run away from home at 16. But for me, in the situation I was in, it was a good idea.
Yeah.
It was a good for my health and for my own well-being. I had to get away from that. And so, but I wouldn't have done that if I thought that was easy. If I knew it would be hard, but you just have to do it. You have to step outside the comfort zone to then try and get jobs at some of the most amazing media organizations and news organizations in the world, when you have no experience, no qualifications, etc. Again, is pushing yourself to go, no, this is what I want, and I know it's not going to be easy, but I want to do it, and I'm going to do it. To then go on to study, to travel, to go and live in another country, again, is not simple, easy stuff. Mm-hmm. So throughout my life, the decisions I've made very early on, with my education, with my career, with my lifestyle, with my study, with my relationships, have always been to keep pushing beyond and not just accept mediocre.
Yeah, that's really nice. Good inspiration, I think, for all the people who are afraid of something new or scared of trying out an idea they have in mind.
Because what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, you just fail and start again.
Exactly. And if we learn more when things do go wrong.
Yeah.
Or if things aren't as easy as we thought, that is when we learn more. That is when we grow. And if we can just take that first step, and then who knows? And sometimes, Richard Branson is one of my business heroes. He had so many failed businesses. Yeah. He didn't do so great at school. I'm not saying people shouldn't do good at school, but you know what I mean. He was bankrupt 2, 3, maybe more times. I can't remember now. He's probably been bankrupt even in other companies. But you keep going and you keep doing it. Yeah. And I remember a quote. It was actually from a friend of mine at the BBC, and she said to me, it's like jumping off a cliff. You might fall or you learn to fly. But you don't know until you take that step, and you just try.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. You kind of started answering the very last question, and I think it's one of the most important questions we, especially as students of the International Positive Psychology Master, should ask ourselves. Do you think other people can benefit from positive psychology? And if yes, why?
Absolutely, categorically yes. Even more so now than I think we realized even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I think the world is evolving at such a pace with technology, with population growth, with so many things that unless we take care of ourselves and our minds and focus, it is very easy to get absorbed and swallowed up, whether that is stress, whether it's addiction to social media, whether it is just participating and being a bystander in the world rather than actively being present in it. Yeah. And I think positive psychology is exactly that. It is about looking at the psychology of your mind. And I think most people accept and understand these days that psychology is an important part. Our mental health, how our minds work, how we think, affects our behavior, affects our happiness, affects our health, affects our well-being on so many levels. So whether it is in a particular area of your life or all of it, positive psychology gives you the tools, the content to read, to think about, to reflect on, that helps you be the best human being you can be. And this is the science of positive psychology. It is about optimal human functioning.
Yeah.
Now, on an academic level, that sounds, fantastic. On a day-to-day level, that means how can I be the best mum I can be? How can I be the best business person I want to be? How can I be the best father, best partner, best sister? It is how do we as a human behave in the most optimal way that is right for us, and taking responsibility that is something that we can manage, we can control if we're not feeling so great or not feeling. You can change these things. It is proven scientifically that if you are feeling low, if you do some exercise, you will feel better. Yeah. It is proven that if you do just take 5 minutes a day to reflect and think, you will feel better. If you learn about communicating and knowing yourself better, you will probably have better communications with people and feel better.
Yeah, and better relationships.
And therefore, and it's a snowball effect.
Yeah, it is.
Because it is about something that is very practical and inspirational, but is grounded in scientific evidence of how the mind works and how we can use and adapt it, look after it, to be the best human being we can be.
Yes. I think that's an amazing final question to answer, and the best answer you could have given. I really like it. It would have been my answer too. So Saleha, thank you very much for being my positive psychology talk guest today. And I really enjoyed talking to you, and thank you for sharing private stuff like running away from home, James Cameron, all this stuff. Thank you very much. I'm really grateful for that.
Thank you.
And have a great time doing the IMAPP program. And I'm sure you will have a good time finishing it, and then you will improve your business world by using positive psychology, and as well as your personal life as well.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.